His silence isn't mysterious, it's not deep, it's not him processing his overwhelming feelings for you. His silence is a decision. And that decision has already been made about you, about your relationship, about your future together. We live in a culture that romanticizes the strong, silent type, that teaches us to read meaning into empty spaces, to find depth in disconnection. But here's what no one wants to tell you. When a man goes silent, when he withdraws, when he stops communicating, he's not protecting the relationship. He's not being careful with your heart. He's already decided you're not worth the effort it takes to show up. Think about it. When something matters to a man, really matters, does he go silent? When his job is on the line, does he stop communicating with his boss? When his health is at risk, does he avoid the doctor? When his car breaks down, does he ignore the mechanic? No. He shows up, he asks questions, he demands answers, he takes action. But when it comes to you, when it comes to your feelings, your need for clarity, your relationship, suddenly silence becomes his language of choice. That silence you're trying so hard to understand, that gap you're desperately trying to fill with hope and excuses and patience, it's not a pause, it's not a comma, it's a period. And the sentence it's ending is the one where he chooses you every day, where he fights for what you have together, where he values you enough to use his words when words are what you need most. Men are not complicated creatures when it comes to what they want. They don't struggle to communicate about things that matter to them. They don't go silent about their passions, their goals, their interests. Watch a man talk about something he cares about, something he's invested in, something he's excited about. The words flow. The enthusiasm is obvious. The communication is clear, consistent, and without confusion. So when that same man goes silent with you, when conversations become strained, when responses become delayed, when emotional topics are met with withdrawal, it's not because he doesn't know how to express himself. It's because he doesn't want to express what he's actually feeling. And what he's feeling is distance. What he's feeling is disconnection. What he's feeling is the slow, quiet process of checking out. Male silence in relationships is often a form of emotional exit strategy. It's the slow fade. It's the gentle withdrawal. It's the way men leave relationships before they actually leave them. Because direct confrontation requires vulnerability. Honest conversation requires emotional labor. Ending things clearly requires taking responsibility for hurt feelings and broken hearts. Silence is easier. Silence puts the burden on you. Silence makes you the one who has to bring up the difficult conversations. Silence makes you the one who has to ask the hard questions. Silence makes you the one who has to decide when enough is enough. So he never has to be the bad guy who walked away. And here's the part that's going to sting. He knows exactly what his silence is doing to you. He knows you're overthinking every interaction. He knows you're replaying conversations, looking for signs, hoping for clarity. He knows you're confused, frustrated, and slowly losing your sense of security in the relationship. And he's choosing to let that happen rather than have one honest conversation about where his head and heart actually are. This isn't about men being inherently cruel or manipulative. It's about emotional immaturity and conflict avoidance. It's about choosing the path of least resistance over the path of most integrity. It's about prioritizing their own comfort over your need for clarity and respect. When you're dealing with a man's silence, you're not dealing with mystery or depth. You're dealing with someone who has already made a decision about your relationship and is hoping that his actions or lack thereof will communicate what his words won't. He's hoping you'll get the message without him having to deliver it directly. He's hoping you'll do the hard work of ending things so he can walk away with a clean conscience. The silence isn't protecting your feelings. It's protecting his image of himself as a good guy, because good guys don't hurt people, right? Good guys don't break hearts. Good guys don't disappoint the women who love them. So instead of being direct, instead of being honest, instead of being brave enough to have difficult conversations, he chooses silence and lets you slowly realize on your own that you're not his priority anymore. You want to believe his silence means something beautiful because the alternative is too painful to accept. You want to believe he's overwhelmed by how much he cares. You want to believe he's scared of ruining what you have. You want to believe he's processing deep emotions and will eventually come back with clarity and commitment and the words you've been waiting to hear. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that you're projecting your own emotional complexity onto his simple decision to disengage. You're taking your own depth of feeling, your own investment in the relationship, your own hope for the future, and you're assuming he feels the same way. You're giving him credit for emotions he's not experiencing and motivations he doesn't have. Here's what you need to understand about how most men operate. When they want something, they go after it. When they want a job, they apply. When they want a friendship, they make plans. When they want a relationship, they pursue it. When they want to keep a relationship, they invest in it. They don't play games with things that matter to them. They don't create confusion around things they value. They don't leave the people they care about wondering where they stand. So when a man's actions are confusing, when his communication is inconsistent, when his effort is sporadic, it's not because he's confused about his feelings. It's because his feelings aren't strong enough to inspire consistent action. It's because you're not his priority. It's because he's comfortable with the current dynamic where you do most of the emotional labor and he gets to show up when it's convenient. You're misreading his signals because you're looking for complexity where there is simplicity. You're searching for hidden meanings where there is surface level disinterest. You're trying to decode behavior that doesn't need decoding because it's exactly what it appears to be: withdrawal, disengagement, and emotional unavailability. The man who is truly invested in you doesn't leave you guessing. He doesn't make you feel like you're too much when you ask for clarity. He doesn't punish you with silence when you express your needs. He doesn't make you feel crazy for wanting basic communication and emotional presence. He shows up, he speaks up, he clears up any confusion because he doesn't want you to spend a single moment doubting where you stand with him. When you stop misreading his signals and start seeing them for what they actually are, you stop wasting your energy on someone who has already decided you're not worth his full effort. You stop making excuses for behavior that doesn't deserve excuses. You stop giving him credit for feelings he's not having and intentions he doesn't possess. The silence isn't complicated. The mixed signals aren't mysterious. The hot and cold behavior isn't evidence of internal conflict about how much he cares. It's evidence of someone who is comfortable keeping you in emotional limbo while he figures out if something better comes along. It's evidence of someone who doesn't respect you enough to be direct about his diminishing interest. It's evidence of someone who has already decided you're not his person but doesn't have the courage to say it out loud. And the most painful part, you already know this, somewhere deep down, beneath all the hope and excuses and benefit of the doubt giving, you already know that his silence isn't love. You already know that his withdrawal isn't protection. You already know that someone who truly valued you wouldn't leave you feeling this confused, this insecure, this desperate for crumbs of attention and affection. While you're waiting for him to find his words, to process his feelings, to figure out what he wants, your life is on hold. Your emotional energy is consumed by trying to understand someone who doesn't want to be understood. Your peace of mind is sacrificed to someone who isn't losing sleep over your confusion. Your self-worth is slowly eroding as you accept less and less communication, less and less presence, less and less of what you actually need to feel secure and valued in a relationship. Every day you spend waiting for clarity from someone who won't give it to you is a day you're not available to receive the love you deserve from someone who would never leave you guessing. Every ounce of energy you pour into decoding his silence is energy you're not investing in your own growth, your own happiness, your own life. Every excuse you make for his lack of communication is practice in accepting less than your worth. And here's what happens to you during this waiting period. You start to shrink. You start to question your own needs. You start to wonder if you're asking for too much when you want basic emotional presence. You start to believe that love is supposed to be this confusing, this hard, this one-sided. You start to think that fighting for someone's attention is the same as fighting for love. You begin to lose touch with your own intuition because you're so focused on reading his. You stop trusting your gut feelings about the relationship because you're invested in believing his silence means something other than what it obviously means. You start accepting behavior that your past self would have walked away from immediately because you've gradually lowered your standards to accommodate his emotional unavailability. The cost isn't just emotional, it's practical. While you're in this holding pattern, waiting for him to decide if you're worth his words, you're not dating other people. You're not open to connections with men who would communicate clearly from day one. You're not building the kind of relationship where silence feels comfortable because it comes from security, not from uncertainty. His silence isn't costing him anything. It's costing you everything. Your peace, your power, your sense of self-worth, your availability for real love. And that imbalance should tell you everything you need to know about how much he values what you bring to his life. The longer you wait, the more you teach him that his silence is acceptable. The more you accommodate his emotional unavailability, the more he learns that he doesn't need to show up fully to keep you around. The more you make excuses for his lack of communication, the more you enable him to continue treating you like an option rather than a priority. And here's the cruelest part. Your patience isn't inspiring him to love you more. Your understanding isn't making him appreciate what he has with you. Your willingness to wait isn't demonstrating your value to him. It's demonstrating that you'll accept whatever scraps of attention he's willing to give you. It's showing him that your standards are low enough to accommodate his minimal effort. The man who is right for you won't require you to wait in silence for him to decide if you're worth pursuing. He won't need time to figure out if he wants to communicate with you. He won't leave you hanging while he processes feelings that may or may not include in his future. He'll know, and he'll act on that knowledge consistently and clearly from the beginning. His silence is not a mystery to decode. It's a message delivered loud and clear. It says, I don't respect you enough to give you the clarity you're asking for. It says, I'm comfortable letting you suffer in uncertainty rather than having one difficult conversation. It says, your emotional well-being is less important to me than my own comfort. It says, I've already decided you're not worth the effort it takes to show up fully in this relationship. When a man goes silent, he's communicating his priority. Ease. And you're not at the top of that list. If you were, he'd find his words. He'd make the effort. He'd push through whatever discomfort he feels about emotional conversations because losing you would be more uncomfortable than facing his feelings. His silence communicates that he's okay with you being confused, frustrated, and insecure. He's okay with you spending your energy trying to figure out what he's thinking instead of him just telling you. He's okay with you carrying the emotional weight of the relationship while he checks out mentally and emotionally. But here's what his silence communicates most clearly. He's already made his decision about your future together. He's just hoping you'll figure it out on your own so he doesn't have to be the one to deliver the news. He's hoping his lack of investment will speak for itself so he can avoid the confrontation of actually ending things. The man who sees a future with you doesn't stay silent about it. The man who wants to build something real with you doesn't leave you guessing about his intentions. The man who values you doesn't communicate through absence. He uses his words, his actions, his consistent presence to make sure you never doubt where you stand with him. When someone truly cares about your emotional state, they don't subject you to the anxiety and confusion that comes with their silence. They don't make you feel like you're being too needy when you ask for basic communication. They don't punish you for having normal relationship needs by withdrawing even further. His silence is telling you that he's not emotionally mature enough for the kind of relationship you want. It's telling you that he doesn't have the communication skills necessary for a healthy partnership. It's telling you that he's not willing to do the work that real love requires. And perhaps most importantly, his silence is telling you that it's time to make your own decision. It's time to stop waiting for him to choose you and start choosing yourself. It's time to stop trying to earn his words and start valuing your own voice. It's time to stop accepting silence as an acceptable form of communication in your relationships. The right person for you will never leave you wondering. They won't communicate through absence. They won't make you feel like you're asking for too much when you want clarity and consistency. They'll show up with their words, their actions, and their unwavering commitment to making sure you always know exactly where you stand with them. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she has to choose between the comfort of familiar confusion and the courage of demanding more. When she has to choose between the hope that someone will eventually choose her and the power of choosing herself first. When she has to choose between waiting for someone else's words and trusting her own voice. That moment is now, right now. As you read this, as you recognize your own story in these words, as you feel the truth settling in your chest like a weight you've been carrying but refusing to acknowledge. This is your moment to choose yourself over his silence. Choosing yourself means accepting that his silence has already given you all the information you need. It means stopping the mental gymnastics, the excuse-making, the benefit of the doubt giving. It means trusting your intuition over your hope. It means believing your own experience over his empty promise. S or mixed signals. Choosing yourself means walking away from someone who won't walk towards you. It means refusing to beg for the basic respect of clear communication. It means understanding that love doesn't require you to become smaller, quieter, or less demanding of the treatment you deserve. When you choose yourself, you stop waiting for him to realize your worth and start living it. You stop trying to convince someone to want you and start becoming unavailable to anyone who doesn't already know they do. You stop accepting silence as love and start demanding that love show up with words, actions, and consistency. This choice isn't easy, but it's necessary because every day you spend accepting his silence is a day you're teaching yourself that you're worth less than clear communication. Every day you make excuses for his emotional unavailability is a day you're practicing accepting less than you deserve. Every day you wait for him to choose you is a day you're not choosing yourself. The woman who chooses herself doesn't chase clarity from someone who won't give it. She doesn't beg for attention from someone who's comfortable giving her confusion. She doesn't wait for someone else's decision about her worth because she's already decided it for herself. Your silence in response to his silence isn't punishment, it's protection. It's you refusing to participate in a dynamic that diminishes your value. It's you stepping back from someone who won't step up. It's you creating space for someone who will fill it with words, presence, and the kind of love that never leaves you guessing. The peace you've been searching for in his words. You'll find it in your own decision to stop waiting for them. The clarity you've been craving from him, you'll discover it in your own certainty that you deserve better. The love you've been hoping he'll give you, you'll experience it when you outgive it to yourself by walking away from anyone who won't match it. His silence was never about love. It was about convenience. Your choice to no longer accept it. That's about love. Love for yourself, love for your future, love for the person you're becoming when you refuse to settle for anything less than someone who chooses you every single day with their words, their actions, and their unwavering commitment to making sure you never doubt where you stand with them. Choose yourself. Choose your voice over his silence. Choose your peace over his confusion. Choose your future over his inability to commit to one with you in it. Because the person who is meant for you will never make you choose between your dignity and their love. They'll show up so consistently, so clearly, so lovingly that choosing them will feel like the most natural decision you've ever made. And until that person arrives, choose yourself. Every single time,